Um, okay, so my name's Amanda Martinez, and I am a social work student here at the University of Wisconsin Oshkosh. And I have been working with the Division of Academic Support of Inclusive Excellence to create these community discussions related to COVID and how they impact various marginalized communities. So today we will be specifically looking at food insecurity. And then we have the director from the Oshkosh Area Food Pantry here with us today to look at this issue. So I will leave it to you to introduce yourself and begin your presentation. And thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me, Amanda. I appreciate this opportunity. And what I'd like to do today is, first I'll introduce myself. I'm Tom Foydick. I'm the director of the Oshkosh Area Community Pantry. And I've been here for just over 2 years. And we are the largest food pantry in southern Winnebago County. We are part of a network of 7 pantries in this area. And in addition to what the university has, and we do work with you guys at the university, and we've been in existence in one form or another since 1999, but this actual site, which is at St. Vincent de Paul, has been here since 2008. So what I'd like to share with you today is talk a little bit about kind of what we saw through the pandemic. And Amanda, is there a way for you to share my screen or not? If not, I can just talk, but.
There should be a button above where it says share content, but if not, I can try to pull up your PowerPoint.
Let's see. Oh, if the share tray, if I do that, is that it?
I think so. Yeah.
Let's give it a shot. Screen share. How's that?
I don't see anything. Okay, now I see it.
All right, you see it?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know if anyone else can see it.
Well, I can proceed because I'll be talking anyway, so this will help me.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so I'll just start, Amanda, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, sounds good.
If people have questions, you can either wait till the end or you can ask them as we go on, but let me just get started and then we'll find out what kind of questions you might have. So as a way of background, let's see. Last year, 2020, the pantry here distributed 1.6 million pounds of food. That is a significant amount even for a pantry of our size. We did 1.15 million pounds via the pantry store. For those that may have been here before, we are located in St. Vincent de Paul. This building used to be a grocery store, so we actually have 10,000 square feet of space, which we lease from St. Vinny's for $1 a month. And so 1.15 million pounds left us via our store, where people can come here. We work on a point system. They can leave with a certain amount of food. And then over 470,000 pounds went off-site to our dozens of community partners. We have all kinds of community partners, and we'll talk about those in a minute. The UW Oshkosh Food Pantry is one of them. And so we work closely with many. We reach about 1,300 households per month, which comes out to about 3,000 individuals per month. So we are large, and we had a very busy year. A partial list of the partners that we do serve. We do work closely with the Oshkosh Area School District. So right now, we have something called the School Pantry Program. We are in 20 different schools in the district, where once a week, our volunteers package and deliver healthy snack foods and fruit to the schools. and then the school social workers and school counselors will distribute them to needy students. And we were running that program prior to COVID. When COVID started, of course, school closed. So what we did is the schools were still doing lunch meals and things for kids that needed them. So we actually supplemented that food with produce and fruit so that families could take that home with them. So we are a close partner with the district. Last year, we also worked with some summer meal programs for kids. First English Lutheran Church, which is in a kind of a high need neighborhood. We've worked with them for the past couple of years. We provide produce and food, mostly fruit, to supplement what they're providing meals for kids. There was a program called Knock and Go, or there still is a program called Knock and Go. Also, we were working with Heroes of Oshkosh, which some of you probably recognize from Facebook, where they were actually delivering meals or food directly to families in need during the pandemic. We actually provided a lot of that food. Knock and Go is still in service, so that's a group of volunteers that are delivering to about 50 households in Oshkosh currently. They come here every Tuesday morning and load up boxes, and then they use our food to feed those families. We also, little thing like United Way office in town has a mini pantry outside where people can come by and pick up food, and we actually supply the food for that. We are a partner with you folks at UW Oshkosh. We do provide some food for you as well. We work with PATS Incorporated, which is an organization that works with homeless people, and we actually provide food for them as well. And then we are currently providing food for the Boys and Girls Club. And we're discussing a much more long-term and larger commitment to them. We actually share fruit and things like that with the Boys and Girls Club so that they can give it to the kids that use their services. Also, we are a drop site and distribution center. So we work with the federal government through AdvoCap, which many of you have probably heard of. And then they monitor, or they work with a federal program called TFAP, or the Emergency Food and Assistance Program. That is a program whereby the federal government buys excess food from farmers and food producers and donates it to pantries. So like, for example, yesterday we had 2 semi-loads of food come in here, and then we take all that food, and then our other pantry partners in the area, they come and get their share of the food from us because we have enough storage to do that. So we're a distribution site for them. We're also a drop site for Feeding America. We are a Feeding America partner. So for those of you that live in the area, if you drive north on 41, just north of Appleton on the left side, they have a warehouse there and offices. We work with them closely where other pantries make Feeding America orders as well as we do. And then they bring them here on Friday mornings, and then they're picked up by other pantries. We also get food from Feeding America a couple of other ways. There's a program called Fresh Connect, where we have a refrigerated truck, and then several times a week we go to Walmart in Oshkosh, Target in Oshkosh, and Walmart in Neenah to pick up excess food and bring it back here, and then our volunteers sort it, and then what's still usable, we put out on our shelves. They also have a program called Fresh Stop, where Feeding America themselves will pick up food from Costco in Appleton, Meijer in Appleton, and Walmart in Appleton, and they'll bring it to our pantry so that we can sort it and share it with those that might need it. So we are a drop site as well as a close partner of Feeding America. In 2020, almost contrary to what you might think, the food supply was incredible. When the pandemic hit, it was very disruptive, of course, but we never really were short of food. In addition to what food that we got through Feeding America, the federal government really came through for us big time, and they provided incredible amounts of produce and other kinds of things to us at no charge. And in Feeding America, where we normally pay about 19 cents a pound for food, last year over 90% of the food we received from them was given to us at no cost. And we're talking good food here. It's not, it's pasta, it's rice, it's soup, it's meat, different kinds of meat, things like that. So it's really impressive. All TFAB food is provided to us at no cost. And during the pandemic, the federal government also made arrangements, like some of you may be aware of the USDA program, where on Wednesday evenings, they are right now, I think they're still doing the food distribution at Oshkosh West High School. Last summer, they were doing it on campus on Monday mornings. And so that was all available to people for free. So it was incredible. And then the government was also buying food from produce wholesalers in the area and bringing a lot of that here. And it was incredibly fresh produce. And so we basically, what happens here is people get points depending on the number size of their household. So if you're a big household, you get 30 points. If it's just you or one or two people, you get 20 points. And if you're in between, you get 25. Food has a point value typically, but with our produce, since COVID hit, we've had unlimited produce for whatever people wanted because we've had so much. Also, community members, including our wonderful Rotary organizations, have provided thousands of pounds of food to us. So we have gotten, what the Rotary does is there's 2 Rotaries in town, and then during the Oshkosh farmers market in the summer, they pick up produce at the end from the various vendors, and they bring it over here, and then we give it to our clients. And then we also have a lot of local gardeners and farmers that give us food. So for example, last year we had a guy who was like an 80-year-old man who likes to garden. He brought us 80 bushel loads of fresh green peppers. So we get a lot of those kinds of things. We have people that grow pears or apples, they donate them to us. So last year, despite the incredible situation we're going through, food supply was never an issue. In fact, we continue to have a tremendous amount of food. In terms of our adaptation to COVID, right now we have a kind of indoor store, but when lockdowns were happening, we moved to an outdoor no contact distribution on Monday, March 23rd, almost a year ago. And what happened is we were told on a Friday that we couldn't have our store open, and then St. Vinny's was going to close during the lockdown. So we took over the front door, and we brought all the food outside in boxes, and then we had volunteers packaging it and giving it to people as they were driving in. And we also, by the way, have a bus stop right at our front door. So for people that do not have a car, it worked out beautifully because we could just give them the food as they got off the bus. So dozens of volunteers helped us make the transition and pack and serve the food. It was incredible. And God bless St. Vinny's, they were incredible to us, and they kept the manager here even though they were closed, just so they could keep the building open for us. So we really appreciated that. So we served that way through the end of May, and then we took a week to clean and sanitize our store, and then we reopened on June 8th. And then I should go back just one. We reopened with protocols, which I'll go through in a little bit. But again, during the pandemic, the school system was actually continued some of their meal service during the summer months. We supported them with fruit and produce. We did some bulk delivery of staple food boxes to Oshkosh Housing Authority facilities, as well as Miravia Living, which is a senior living option. So we were delivering 50 to 100 boxes of food per week to some of those facilities, especially for those that might not be able to make it to the pantry or didn't have a car. And then I mentioned earlier, we supported 3 additional summer meal programs for kids in addition to what First English Lutheran does. And then typically a client household can come once per month. During the COVID, we have allowed 2 visits per month. And right now our staff is meeting and they're talking about possibly going to 3 visits per month, just partly because we have a lot of food and partly because if we think the need is there, we want to give people the opportunity. Also, we currently, since COVID, once we reopen, we limit the number of people in the pantry to provide better social distancing. So only 10 or 11 households can be in at a time. And then we established very strong cleaning and sanitation protocols. And then we will continue to adapt and improvise as necessary. And also we've had tremendous community support. The names on the list, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, we have 5, we have 6 major area foundations and businesses that support us, and they came through for us in a very big way. Our individual donations of money were up 100% over the previous year. Last year, despite the fact that a significant number of our volunteers are senior citizens, and many of them were understandably afraid to come to us to volunteer during COVID, despite that, we had people make up the slack, and over 18,000 volunteer hours were served last year, which was up 15% over the previous year. And thanks in part to all the food options available, we more than met the demand for our services. I think in part due to the various programs out there available to us, we did not see a spike in numbers during COVID. Because of enhanced unemployment payments and larger food share numbers, amounts given to people, and the various USDA options and other kinds of places where food is available, we actually did not see an increase in the number of people coming to see us, which was kind of counterintuitive. And we're a member of something called the Oshkosh Hunger Network, and that is all the other pantries, and we keep data for them. And every pantry was basically the same. Our usage has been flat, or maybe even a little bit down. And then 2021 is here. We are prepared. So we've got our kids programming back up and running. In addition to our school pantry program, we have a small little mini pantry called Kids Corner in our facility where people can go through with a volunteer. Little kids can learn about nutrition and do their own mini shop. We have a great partnership with Piggly Wiggly in Oshkosh, who provides us kind of kid-sized food packaging for wholesale prices, which is pretty cool. We're also doing a lot more to focus on nutrition. We did receive a small grant to provide food for diet-restricted senior citizens. A significant percentage of our clients are seniors. And then we actually package recipes for all of our clients that focus on the actual things that we have available to us in the pantry. The thing about Pantry World is we cannot stock our stores the way a grocery store might, because we don't always have a lot of choice. So sometimes we get tremendous amounts of certain kinds of food that we have to figure out, help our clients learn how to use them. And then we came up with a new mission, values, and vision statement for the upcoming future. And then we have ongoing collaborations with community partners that will continue. Last year, we partnered with up to 35 different entities to provide food or other kinds of assistance in order to alleviate hunger in our community. Are there any questions for me? Those are my formal remarks, but I'd love to answer questions if you have them.
Does anyone have any questions? If you're comfortable, you can turn on your mic or put it in the chat.
Either way is fine.
I don't have any questions right now, but this is all super interesting. And it seems like there's a sense of community in Oshkosh.
Yes.
So that's really neat.
I would say that there were people that would come in here and hand me checks for $5,000. There were clients that were giving me money. There were people would come in, it would just, you'd almost tear up because of the way the community came through. People were calling just saying, what can we do to help? I had a number of people who got stimulus checks from the government. They would just take a portion of their check and just hand it over to us. And it was heartening. It was never, I mean, we're in a better place financially now than we've ever been, thanks to this community.
So it sounds like the food pantry was able to effectively transition in the pandemic. Was there any challenges you faced specifically during this time in your position?
Yes, there were. One of the toughest things was, because we're partnering with the federal government and TFAP, they wanted to require all of their pantries to do no contact food distribution. But once St. Vinny's opened up again, we lost access to the front door because it's the only public entrance. So we basically went against their wishes. And that was a little tough, but we just felt like we reasoned with them and said, look, every other grocery store is open, Walmart's open, Festival Foods is open, Pick and Save is open. We think we can open and do this safely. So that was tough. It was also tough initially because so many of our volunteers were afraid to come in, because they, again, especially the older ones, because they didn't want to risk, and I totally get that. But we were very concerned for a while. So what happened is there was probably 8 to 10 people, and 4 that I can think of right at the top of my head, who just came through big time for us. And we have 4 lead volunteers now who are basically here full time. And they started that kind of work with COVID. So it's been, and in fact, I worry about them because none of them are spring chickens, and I worry about whether they're able to handle the work, but they just love being here. So there have been challenges, but people have come through for us big time.
Thank you. And then there's a question in the chat. Can you talk more about what kind of nutrition teachings you are doing?
Sure. Right now, what we're trying to do is focus on, especially now that we have a little more money. So for example, with the kids, we relied a lot on donated food, like snack items and things like that could be good for kids. And some of that was okay. Granola bars are probably fine, but we were getting like Pop-Tarts and things like that. And like kids love Pop-Tarts, it's probably not the healthiest option. So because we're in a better place financially, I've instructed our program manager and our inventory manager to say, you feel free to look for food, and we'll pay. We don't want to pay full price, but we'll pay wholesale prices to get good, fresh, protein bars or whatever, even produce or fruit if we have to buy it. So that's one thing. The other thing is really trying to help our clients understand how to use the food that they get at the pantry. So we have, I think, 4 different recipes now where our program manager will create a recipe or find a recipe using our food. And then we'll have volunteer groups package the recipes, and we make them available with the recipe inside for clients at a reduced point value. And that's really good. And now, as I said, we're doing the diet restricted stuff. We're just getting into that. But what we plan to do more of, because I've had several clients say this to me, is, they're a 70-year-old man and they get the recipe bag. They really don't know how to cook. So our program manager is committed to starting to create some online cooking classes so people can go online and at least get a 10-minute tip on, okay, we have this tuna casserole. Well, how do I prepare it? So we need to do more there. But that's the kind of stuff we're talking about. Other questions?
That's very interesting about how the videos and everything.
Yeah, that's a priority for us for the next couple of years.
And then earlier you mentioned like school social workers play a role. Yep. I was wondering what other roles they play at the pantry.
Well, what's really, there's a couple different things. For the most part, the school social workers, they're the ones that are sort of monitoring the school pantries, the pantries that are in the schools. And what's nice about that is we used to have a different kind of program. We would bring bags of what was called weekend food for students. And it was nice, but we were getting a lot of waste, and you give a kid, an 8-year-old, a can of green beans, they don't want that, so they weren't eating it, they weren't taking it. So what's nice about it is the school social workers and the school counselors really identify where the need is. And there are a lot of kids who may have a need, but they're embarrassed or they're afraid to say anything. So the school social workers and counselors have been extremely helpful at identifying those kids and bringing them in and just saying, look, just come in here, grab a couple things, put them in your backpack and go. And that's really been good for us. The other thing that school social workers have done is we do have homeless families in this city, and we have homeless families with school children. And so if, for example, someone might be living in a hotel temporarily, we've had school social workers come in and actually do a shop for the family. And then that's the other thing, is we have to be able to provide food if someone's living in a hotel where they have limited cooking capabilities. So we're trying to work with, we had somebody donate $100 worth of can openers, for example, because if you think about it, if you don't have a kitchen, how do you open your food? So we have school social workers come in periodically to do an actual shop for a family that can't do that. But they're key to us. Because there's more, we find even with lower numbers in the pantry, the demand for the food in the schools is high. So what I'm perceiving is that there's some family situations that may not be so great. And while there may even be food in the house, for some reason the kids aren't getting it all. So by working through the schools, it really helps us reach people that we may not be able to reach through the pantry. Other thoughts?
Yeah, there's a question in the chat. Have you seen any school nurses get involved in these efforts?
School nurses? That's a good question. We have not. I don't know what happens inside the individual schools. It's certainly possible that a nurse would be able to identify someone who might be in need, but we have not heard those stories as of yet. Anything else?
I guess another question I would have is, did you receive any resistance from clients who were in need of food but were worried about COVID?
It's almost been the opposite, where St. Vinny's has a mask requirement, and we find ourselves reminding people a lot of times to put their mask on. And I think we've had Monday, we're open from 2 to 6 on Mondays. So it tends to be one of our busiest days. And so we have a waiting area where we're asking people to stay a certain amount of feet apart. And when it gets crowded, it's been very hard to do that. So we have had a few people complain, but we've also, for the most part, had compliments from people saying, we appreciate that you're cleaning the carts after every use, and we're doing that right in front of people. The registration people are constantly cleaning the desk off, and it's not perfect, but I think people see that we're making a really strong effort. So I do think for the most part, people have been appreciative.
Thank you. Are there
bet.
any last minute questions? Well, I just want to say thank you for coming to this discussion. And it was really insightful seeing like what our community is doing and like how helpful the food pantry has been, especially in like helping those in need and addressing this issue of food insecurity. But thank you. This was very.
You're welcome. Take care, you guys.